Can you believe someone would have the audacity to say that I'm paranoid? I got a lot of comments and messages from people after my recent interview on Emily Jasinski's show, The After Party, that this man is paranoid. Like it's a bad thing. They were thinking that the things I was saying about AI sounded paranoid or delusional. I think it's good to have a healthy dose of paranoia in you. The world around us is insane. It's depraved. There's so much evil. I just watched this video of a man in Arizona. Ryan Maddow just shared this video. He was, I think, an attorney in a county sheriff's office in Arizona who got caught videotaping two 12-year-old girls, and then going to his car. It was in Target. Then going to his car in the parking lot with his pants down in the car and getting caught. One of the fathers of those young girls called the cops. And there's body cam footage of them approaching the man. You can see him in the beginning kind of lifting his pants up as he gets out. But, the man is mistaken. The man confronted the guy in the car, said, "You were filming my daughter," as you should do. It's disgusting. And you can tell. It's pretty obvious. And you have to be aware. But this is what I'm saying. We have to be aware. So just because you're more aware of your surroundings in this insane world doesn't mean you're paranoid. It just means you're paying attention. And anyone who wants to call you crazy for paying attention they have their own problems. They want to be in their little cocoon, in their corner where they talk about just one thing. Don't you dare go beyond politics. It's not right, left. It's not just right, left. It's what I'm saying is it's good and evil, right? And that's just one obvious example of, like, you go into Target with your kid and there is a monster waiting in the aisles, preying upon your innocent child with his camera. They found, it wasn't just accusations made. I went and saw this video. I think it was from, I'm sorry, I forget this guy's name. He's got a law channel, but he breaks down this whole case. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I've told you the story about chasing the guy with a shotgun, right? Well, we won't get into that whole thing right now, but this stuff makes me just so freaking mad. And you're paranoid. You're paranoid. You are just reading about it. And I'm just literally reporting on the things that they're saying themselves. But anyway, real quick to wrap that up. That guy was caught on security cameras in Target filming two different young girls. I think they were both 12, and like walking by them. I'm just saying this, like, not to make this point I'm about to go into with the AI stuff and paying attention in this crazy world, but like, you got to pay attention out there at all times. And you're not paranoid for needing to pay attention. This is important stuff. This is part of your survival, okay? Head on a swivel, man, at all times. And it's unfortunate. This guy was an attorney. He got fired. Was an attorney in Arizona in a county sheriff office. And we know that kind of stuff. We'll get into Epstein. I have a little Epstein follow-up thanks to one of the commenters from last night. This stuff happens in every institution, from the disgusting, like, dredges of society where, like, it's just fentanyl and meth in the gutters and forgotten places that we need to help rehab somehow, up into the skyscrapers in the greatest cities, into DC and beyond. That stuff is happening. But thankfully, this guy was caught. Thankfully, that parent of the 12-year-old girl was keeping an eye out and noticing what was going on, called the cops, got this guy taken in, thank God. And there's that story is weird. But all that is to say, I'm just paying attention to what the AI people are saying about AI. I'm not crazy. They're the ones who are paranoid. They say we don't even understand what we're building. We don't even understand what we're building. It's crazy, though. And on the day that I got these comments, I think it was on the same day I did the interview with Emily, was the same day or maybe the night before Yuval Harari spoke at Davos. Now, Yuval Harari, he does say things that I'm like, no, I get it, because he's AI critical. I don't think he's anti-AI. And I don't want to say I'm anti-AI, but I'm anti most of the things it's doing. And I'm anti most of the things that the people who are building it wanted to do. That makes sense, right? But I can see how it can be a good tool. I'm trying, as I've been heavily critical of it over the past few years, trying to also incorporate it in my life in small ways on how this can affect the creative process, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's research. And I can see how it can be good mostly in research. Like, I like asking it questions, and I'll just talk to it, and it'll just spit back things. But then it's like, you got to fact check it because it lies all the time, and it's dumb. And it was built by people who we all pretend are really the smartest alive. Well, we know the deal. Hopefully the audio is a little better too. I got a better microphone in here, so let me know if we're making some progress here. But Yuval Harari, who I don't agree with a lot of things, and I'm not just saying that because he's Israeli, because he's gay, because he's an atheist. Those don't help. But he also gave a lot, I think $1 million to who during COVID. Like, this guy is just an establishment type, science type guy, believe the science, trust the science. He's a globalist, but he says he's not one world government globalist. But do they ever really say that? I mean, some of them do. But he does, in terms of him being a globalist, he's also a vegan, also not helping his case. But in terms of him being a globalist, he'll say he's a globalist in relation to his concern of worldwide regulation of AI. He's not concerned about having that. He wants that. He's concerned about AI. He wants worldwide governance of AI. But you can see how that's a slippery slope, and how that will easily lead into, well, if we can just all get together and govern AI, let's just all get together and do this, and that, which they're kind of already doing. And we know we have space law. Cashman and Cashman, attorneys at Space, coming to you soon, by the way. It's going to be sweet. I'm going to have billboards all over the place. Just two of me on either side, with Space in the background. Maybe I'll have an astronaut helmet on. It'll be cool. But Yuval Harari was just saying this. And it's things that I do agree with. And I think he puts them well, even though he sounds like a super villain, straight up. Like, he's just like Avi Loeb, I like how the Israeli scientists, expert thinkers, they do sound a lot like the Nazis and Werner von Braun, not just in terms of what they're saying, but their accents in a way. Go look it up. We listened to Avi Loeb on Joe Rogan. So anyway, Yuval said this just yesterday or the day before. AI is not just another tool. It is an agent. It can learn and change by itself and make decisions by itself. A knife is a tool you can use. You can use a knife to cut salad or to murder someone. I'm still quoting Yuval Harari. But it is your decision what to do with the knife. AI, he says, is a knife that can decide by itself whether to cut salad or to commit murder. It cannot make decisions by itself. AI is a knife that can invent new kinds of knives, which is true. He also goes on to say it can lie and manipulate. And I agree with all that. We know that we've seen these AI freaks of nature talk about we can build these warehouses where robots will build robots. I think that's already happening. It kind of goes hand in hand with artificial womb factories that Elon wants to build, getting rid of women altogether. Finally, right? No, sorry, women, you had a good run, but everything they're building is in pursuit of erasing humanity, but they tell us that it's pro-human. And this is another bit of criticism I get, and I understand because people maybe are seeing it as the thing I get a lot would be every time there's a new invention, people freak out. It's the horse and carriage, it's the synthesizer. Do I sound like Eeyore still? There's a little bit of that cold still lingering in my throat. I feel great though. But you're wrong. I get it, but you're wrong. And as I said last year in the AI debate we had on the culture war with those two young AI entrepreneurs, I said the thing that makes this different, the thing that sets AI apart, is that everything falls into the vortex of AI. Everything. It's education, it's art, it's war, it's law. It's our fundamental understanding of reality. It's our perception of Earth and ourselves, of the future and the past. It's not just this one thing that you maybe can use in other avenues here and there, depending on the invention. This is affecting and will affect everything. And it doesn't mean it's going to take over, although I think the surveillance state is salivating over its ability to use AI for everything, because it will condense all of their evil powers into one, huge police state that we can't unplug, because they've decided to launch their self-assembling data centers into fake space. But Yuval Harari goes on to say something similar, and I don't like it, but he has a point. Though I don't agree with the point he is eventually going to make. You can go watch the video. It's on YouTube. It's like 30 minutes long. It's worth hearing what they're talking about, these upper level places. He's like the critic of it all, but he's also not, because I feel like he's pals with a lot of this stuff. And we need someone like that, even though I mostly don't like him. And I agree with some of his takes, which is cool. But we need people pushing back. Elon used to push back 15 years ago on AI until he realized he had to just join, or die. Before I say what Yuval said at Davos, I'm just reminded of a quote an Uber driver told me. I was talking to a guy, I think he was from Ghana. I want to make sure I get it right. He was from Ghana. And he picked me up. This is last time I was in Florida. No, second to last time I was in Florida. Last year when I did Danny Jones' podcast. I'm picked up. I call the Uber. Picks me up. Cool guy from Ghana. And he brings up AI. So I'm already thinking like, who in the CIA sent this guy after me? But that's cool. He's really nice. He talked about moving here. He asked where I was from. Then we got into why he moved here. He was in Ohio first. Which led to him getting into like AI and doing data computing. And I just did this whole episode with Danny the day before about my issues with Peter Thiel, with Elon Musk, the Technocrats, the Technate, all those things. And I was like, that's a little, is this a coincidence? Danny, did you set me up? But when I told him my idea of AI and rejecting it, although trying to understand it, and at that point, I was incorporating it just a little bit in terms of research. He said, you either have a seat at the table or you're on the table for dinner. He said it a little cooler and with a better accent. But I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And that's how I think it happened to Elon when he went around Congress saying we should pass laws, which I also have a hard time with. But this is one of those things that I think will have a profound impact on humanity, especially in terms of privacy, surveillance, the police state, the things like Larry Ellison says. Like, if you're downplaying the evil of Larry Ellison, I mean, that's insane. Larry Ellison is on camera. How many times have I pulled it up on this show saying citizens will be on their best behavior? And this guy's like a vampire with like a plastic face. He looks like he walked out of Madame Tussauds, and he's talking about how we're going to be on our best behavior because we'll have cameras everywhere on everything, which we kind of already do, but he wants to make it even worse. And he's Oracle, right? I mean, this guy has funded, and I think he's built the data centers for Israel, which are way underground, which is why a lot of the theories are coming out about the, what's it called? The ballroom that Trump is building, that they're thinking there's a data center beneath it. Look, I'm willing to accept anything. I looked into it a bit. There's no obviously definitive proof, but it would make sense. All they need a lot of stuff there. It's like a city beneath DC, and the city beneath the White House. And we know how close Ellison is to this administration. He was there on day 2 last year, with Project Stargate, you know, that was when I knew it was all over. Trump sold out the American people on that day, and also became anti-Maha because of everything that they were promoting. So, you know, I still want to champion Trump for any good he does, but I think he's a major disappointment. And I think championing Larry Ellison is a huge disappointment because he hates you. And, you know, him and his son owning CBS and consolidating power. They're consolidating the surveillance state, and they're also trying to consolidate the media. And then they become the new gatekeepers. So like with Larry Ellison, I swear I'm going to get back to Yuval Harari in a second. But with all the gatekeeping happening, I believe what Larry and his son, I think it's Dave Ellison, are doing is basically daily wiring the CBS, right? You understand what I'm saying? So they're going to become this like new, polished, refined, refreshed media empire that seems like it's different than the old guard, but it's really going to be the same. And it will have just as much gatekeeping. And the gatekeeping is an issue. And you see this term gatekeeping popping up in a positive sense amongst a lot of the people who would support this type of situation, which is Ben Shapiro, the Babylon Bee guys, you know, you name all those, that whole circle of people. They want to gatekeep. They don't like uncomfortable ideas. They don't want to have conversations, even though they're free speech, like Elon. On free speech, but then you see the list they put out yesterday of things you can't say on Twitter or you're deboosted. Ridiculous. Elon is a liar. Always been a fraud, always been a liar. Don't care. Oh, but he bought Twitter, free speech. It's not free speech. I'm sorry. It might be a little better than it was, but he bought Twitter to feed our thoughts into Grok. Okay? He bought Twitter to feed our thoughts into Grok. Grok is now bought by the government. Or they're using Grok. They got their own like separate Grok and a petri dish or whatever. He's using us to build his dystopian technology. He's using us to learn, to teach his AI to fly a rocket ship to Mars. That's what they're doing. That's what they're saying. I'm not just making that up. Don't trust him. I think he's a bad guy. I think most of these guys, well, no, I know most of these guys are transhumanists and they're globalists and they don't care about you. They don't care about religion. They don't care about Earth, but they pretend to. Peter Thiel is cosplaying as a Christian, as a married gay man, right? He is cosplaying as a Christian. Look, and I love everybody, and I try not to even say I hate people. That's something I really try to work on. It's really hard because I really am disgusted by a lot of people. I love what God loves, and I hate what God hates. But I try to also remember, like, people can be redeemed. Saul became Paul, right? All right. Anyway, everything falls into the vortex of AI. That's what I was trying to say. And what you've all said is that anything that is word-based basically is under threat of AI, which is true, right? Everything that is word-based will fall into the black hole of AI because AI is on the internet like one of the squiddies from Matrix, eating up everything, right? And turning it into the human centipede that is AI on the internet, where it's just feeding itself ourselves over and over and over again. You ask it a question, it will then search the internet, it'll scan it, it'll comb it, and it'll give you a conglomerate of everything it could find on the internet. And then Yuval even quotes the scripture. He says, in the beginning was the word, right? We know this. But again, he's trying to make this point that it could become the like a theological heavyweight, like for humanity, for it to know all at once. And I don't like that. I don't agree. I also don't know how it will do that because all these different denominations of Christianity alone have different problems. Obviously, there's different Muslims. There's different Jews. There's all types of stuff. There's agnostics and there's atheists. There's Hindu. Like, I don't know if AI, and maybe at some point it will, honestly, it's possible, have nailed it down to be that niche in the ways it can describe every different complexity within denominations. Maybe. It's definitely on the table. But we shouldn't rely on the machine. We should not. My pastor and I were just laughing about churches that are like using AI Christs. Insane. That is golden calf situation. You can't make Christ. Don't do that. You can pray with your head and your heart. You do not make hologram Christ. You don't bring that in the church. You don't do it at all. But they're doing it. And you see they're doing it because they want you on board with their AI, which is why people like Teal are trying to ingratiate themselves into the Christian community. It's like, I don't care about left or right anymore. The left is deranged. Don't listen to them. I mean, some of them have podcasts I do listen to. But when they say dumb stuff, I'm like, that's dumb stuff. I'm raising my kids. They're not. The right is also dumb. Like, there's a few on the right that I'm like, they say things that I agree with, but overall, they're just as brain dead as the left. So I don't care about that. The issue at hand is the future for our children and the continued ancient war against good and evil that we inherit, that we have to teach our kids how to deal with. And the technology aspect of it is a huge part of that. And because, like what Yuval was saying in the beginning of his word, he's quoting scripture, he's talking about God. Everything technology does in the last century has to be married to religion, because it's in itself, it itself is a religion, because they are atheists. A lot of them are atheists building their own little g gods. They literally say that I'm not paranoid. Well, I am a little bit. I'm a little bit paranoid. I always feel like somebody's watching me, even when I'm sick. A little off, but it's okay to be paranoid. But like, the Trinity was the first test of an atom bomb, right? Atom, 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 ADAM. I know that's a little one, but like, you go through Eve, with the first Neuralink put in the human brain. They called it Eve. You'll see Eve pop up quite a bit. The apple with the bite out of it on the Macs, even though it's not really an apple in the Bible, we know what it means. It's nonstop. Just checking on the child that is asleep. If only she knew what I was saying, ranting while she's having sweet dreams. They always have to marry their dystopian anti-Christ technology to Christ, to religion, because it's their way of trying to mutilate religion, right? But it's twofold, I think, at least twofold. It's also their way of showing the public, hey, it's like an homage to religion. No, it's not. Don't buy into it. And the fact that Trump embraces it is disgusting. Bill Gates, Sam Altman, they're sitting at the table. Zuckerberg. Why do we trust these people if just 5 years ago they were censoring everyone, including the president, for saying things that were not that bad? Like, they haven't been like redeemed. They haven't had some like, they pretend they go on these PR tours. They go on Rogan. It's fake. It is fake. They're doing it because they're con men and they want you on board with their death machines. Look, AI is an abstract issue. Will it be as apocalyptic as people propose, like even with Yuval or things I've said? I don't know. You can certainly see the ways it can go because people are lazy. And even if the AI doesn't become as smart as the people building it want it to become, or the people who fear it might become, you can certainly see how people who are lazy will sacrifice themselves to AI, right? To the machine. Let the machine do the driving. Let the machine do the thinking. Let the machine do the creating. Not good. So then we'll be sacrificed to a subpar machine because we've just given up. You can see how that's a possible pathway, right? But it might not be that way. However, as I was saying on Emily's show, and as I said yesterday, I'll just get through it really quickly. They're abstract things that they're building that still make no sense to them, that we can see the positives and the negatives with, are having real world implications by the things they have to build in the physical world to run their AI, right? The data centers. And it could be all types of things. So some of them use water, some of them don't. Some of them use natural gas and coal. Some of them use nuclear power, which is why Bill Gates bought 3 Mile Island. Deep breath. Okay. Let me have some tea really quick. Check the scenario. Where was I? So you can see how the abstract issues are having real world implications. Like I've been saying, the farmland is being destroyed. So, and we're watching it happen, right? So all I have to say is, I'm paranoid and it's good. And if you think I'm paranoid out there, you're not paying attention to these people, what they're doing, what they're building, what they're saying, right? And I know you guys know, except for the few people who've been, the bots who come around and they get in my DMs and stuff. You're bot adjacent, maybe. Bots or bot adjacent. I love the bot adjacent types. But all that is to say, let's get, 25 minutes in. I think I've had enough of that. But I'm not done. Enough of that rant about Yuval Harari and paranoia. Let's see. Where do we want to start? I guess we'll go here. This came out towards the end of last year. I did not see it, but I think it's hilarious and scary. Maybe you guys saw it. I can't believe I missed this. Trump administration providing weapons-grade plutonium to Sam Altman. Did you hear the train? I hope the train picked that up. It's good for emphasis. The subtitle is, if there were adults in the room and I could trust the federal government to impose the right standards, it would be such a great concern. But it just doesn't seem feasible. All right, and this is from futurism.com. When the economy, the way it is these days, with the economy the way it is these days, it's nice to have a little walking around money. Donald Trump certainly thinks so. Since his return to the White House, the president has labeled 440 federal properties for possible sale, leased 13.1 million acres of public land for strip mining, and held a fire sale for satellites developed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Must be nice to have money. Indeed. People are suffering. I haven't noticed any difference yet. But these things take time, right? These things take time. But the economy sucks. It sucks. In one of his wildest money moves to date, the Financial Times reports that Trump is now offering companies access to plutonium from America's arsenal of Cold War nuclear missiles. That's sick. Great. Can I sign up? I have some ideas. Taking out Big Cloud once and for all. On Tuesday, the U.S. Department of Energy launched an application for interested parties to apply for access to a maximum of 19 metric tons, a little under 42,000 pounds of weapons-grade plutonium, which has long been a key resource undergirding the U.S. nuclear arsenal. One of the companies anticipated to receive shipments of the isotope from the DOE is Oklo, a nuclear startup backed and formerly chaired by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Earlier in October, Oklo was one of 4 U.S. companies chosen by the DOE to join a new pilot program meant to rush the testing and approval of experimental reactor designs. Sick. Rush them. Let's rush it. Screw it. Let's warp speed this. Let's warp speed plutonium right into the veins of the American people. Sam Altman was also there on Project Stargate, need I remind you, with Ellison. These disgusting gremlins. As the FT reports, we won't know for certain until December 31st when the DOE announces the company selected to purchase the plutonium, but it's likely Oklo will be among them. I'll look that up in a second. That's stirring up plenty of anxiety throughout the scientific community, who say the relaxed approach to nuclear development is a major cause for alarm. Now, I also don't care about the scientific community. I do, but the science and the experts were the first casualty of COVID. Because, man, did they get that wrong. If there were adults in the room and I could trust the federal government to impose the right, you can already feel how smug this quote is, even though I do kind of agree with it. You can already feel how smug this was. And his name's Edwin. Sorry, Edwin, but you sound smug and your name's smug. And if your name is Edwin, I'm sorry, you're not all smug. This guy's smug. If there were adults in the room and I could trust the federal government to impose the right standards, it wouldn't be such a great concern, but it just doesn't seem feasible. He's a physicist from the Union of Concerned Scientists. Look up what they're also concerned about. What are they really concerned about? It's probably, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Let's see. What are they concerned about? We'll take a quick break. Why not? Why not? This isn't live. And you guys, I don't know, a few people complain. This isn't live. And I know at some point we'll get back to callers. There's a lot I want to do. As I've said, I wanted to go live. And it's all crazy, okay? It's all crazy. And hopefully we all have answers soon. But I have plans. I have guests I want to have on. Lots of things. Let's see. Yeah, look. The Union of Concerned Scientists they hate Trump already. Like, look, I don't like Trump, but I understand how these people have the derangement syndrome, and they're on this picture I'm looking at now. It's facts, not fascism. Stand up for science. Like, I guarantee you all of these people got COVID vaccines injected directly into their eyeballs. In the pictures, they're wearing COVID masks still, and this is from last year. So I just want to point that out as I'm reading this criticism of something that I don't like, and the criticism, although I agree with it, is coming from someone that probably has a lot of bad ideas. But anyway, the move comes as tech companies like OpenAI contribute to a surge in energy consumption unlike anything the U.S. has ever seen, leading to record high electrical bills for American people. That is true. To meet demand, the Trump administration has embraced nuclear energy, which currently depends almost entirely on foreign imports of uranium into the U.S., a bottleneck the White House is trying to do away with. In that light, pawning off warheads to the highest bidder is something of a stopgap solution while domestic uranium producers get things in order. In the meantime, it may have the fascinating side effects of reducing the U.S.'s capacity to threaten its rivals with nuclear obliteration, which, to be fair, is sure to be a welcome development for many nations worldwide. There you go. Let's just see if there's any updates. Which... got plutonium. Think it'll just come up? It'll just come right up. I don't see any updates on this other than what I just read. Nothing. I'm seeing it as last fall, just they were going to announce it come the new year. So nothing yet. In terms of who is getting the plutonium. Like, Altman, really? Did you guys see Altman, the Altman interview with Tucker? When Tucker asked him about the guy, the whistleblower, who mysteriously died, who seems like he was murdered. I don't trust these people. Don't trust these people. Anyway, I was going to then go into some little more paranoia. It's actually in the headline. About AI. And yeah, we'll just get into it, and then I'll talk. This was something I saw a few days ago. We've been seeing this a lot, and sometimes I'll say a few things first. There's been a lot of anti-Chat GPT articles, and I do wonder at times how much of that is somehow coming from pro-grok people. And I'm only saying that because maybe you guys are aware of this. Having seen the guts of the media landscape from both the corporate side and the independent media side, they have a lot of things in common. One of those things is just evil. Just straight up, they're just evil. Not everyone, but a majority. But the other thing is the idea of public relations and how that works and how deeply entwined that is into the narrative engineering of our society, of the world, of politics, and how there's so many backroom deals, whisperings to one another amongst the PR of people who work, on getting other people seen. That'll be like, oh, okay, I know a writer at this place. You give me that idea, I'll pass along to this person. And it's just this weird, passing along of ideas from PR to PR to PR to PR amongst media outlets, whether corporate or independent, or TV or movies or podcasts, whatever. And it's how these things get happen. And it's like, then who are they quoting? Who are they talking to? It's so rarely, to me, it seems like it's even organic anymore. So much of this stuff is a writer is given ideas, which is kind of like how Mockingbird was, where someone in the CIA was like elbowing a journalist, being like, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? Did you do this and that? And they're like, nah, I didn't. That's crazy. And that's how they kind of get to seed different CIA ideas into the public, into the collective consciousness through media. Same thing happening now with PR and how that works. So I've been noticing a lot of Chat GPT negative articles, and I'm like, man, not so many about Grok. And we know, I'm just saying that because we know how much Elon says he hates Altman. I think they're very similar. They're both gay, and they both are evil. He's not gay. Elon had many women. Dude, he he like hooks them up to robots, and then like he has an artificial womb give birth. Give me a break. ChatGPT encouraged his paranoia, then he killed his mother. This is according to the Times. Let's do it. The last time Eric Stolberg spoke to his grandmother, Suzanne Everson Adams, she was preparing to go on a solo cruise to Norway. It was a long way from her home in Greenwich, Connecticut, a wealthy town with Dutch colonial-style houses and hedge fund manager neighbors. But that wasn't a problem for Everson Adams, who was 83. She was an amazing woman. She loved to travel. She was always going to these crazy destinations. She didn't mind going on her own. Says Solberg, who's 20. That is partly why, says Solberg, it was so devastating when, on August 5th, last year, just over a week after she returned, Everson Adams was killed in the comfort of her own home. What was unfathomable, however, was that it was her own son. Solberg's father, Stein Eric Solberg, who was 56, killed her. And he then killed himself. Terrible. I didn't think there was any world where my dad would have been capable of doing what he did, says Solberg, who was spending the summer backpacking after his first year at Virginia Tech University when his mother called to tell him what had happened. I was completely lost for words. My grandmother was super healthy, would probably have lived past 100 because she cycled almost every day and worked out frequently. Oh, it's so bad. In a haze of shock and grief, as he organized his grandmother's funeral, Solberg struggled to make sense of what had happened. Stein Eric had suffered from episodes of mental instability in the past, but he wasn't a murderer, says Solberg. There appeared to be no motive, no catalyzing factor. It was only a few weeks later that a crucial piece of the puzzle emerged. When Solberg checked his father's social media accounts, he found videos he had uploaded of himself scrolling through pages of conversations he had been having with ChatGPT. What became clear, Solberg alleges, was that Stein Eric was obsessively using ChatGPT, spending hours on it every day for at least 5 months before the murder-suicide. This, he claims, helped to fuel a paranoid and dangerous belief harbored by a mentally fragile Stein Eric and his own mother was trying to kill him. Seen a lot of stories like this, and we've seen parents testify before Congress saying that their children are harming themselves because of ChatGPT. They never mention other ones that I've seen so far, which is weird. It's always ChatGPT, which I've never used. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do any of you guys use AI at all? If you do, what do you use? Let us know in the comments. What are you using? Why do you use it? What do you use it for? How is it? I'm very curious. That could be a fun way to gather some information about this stuff. And also, really quick before I go back into this story, it's just insane. Not only did this guy have to bury his grandma, but also his dad, right? Unless the government had to do something with that. But anyway, the thing I was saying about Grok and ChatGPT and these this competition does remind me a little bit of I'm blanking on names now. Edison and Tesla, right? And how Edison really gatekept, destroyed Tesla, and now it's like we have this reverse sort of, because I don't see, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just off the top of my head right now saying this. I haven't seen it myself. I don't see a lot of Grok criticism, maybe because it's a government now, even though ChatGPT is also sort of government now because of OpenAI and whatever, Stargate. But it's like the reverse is happening now with a Tesla name is going after a big company. But I don't think of Elon as a Nikola figure. I think Elon is a fraud, and he's been given a lot of this stuff and also stolen things. You can go looking up all that stuff with the Tesla car stuff, and I think Elon's more like an Edison than a Nikola, and he pretends to be this innovator, but he's a meth head and a liar and a deadbeat dad. That's not to say his critics are right though. Like a lot of the left wing critics hate him for all the wrong reasons, but I just find him to be just a disgusting human being. And I mean that, you know. And look, I'd like to extend grace to him, and he can be redeemed. But there's nothing that shows me he really does care about humanity at all. And I know people really love him, you know. And I knew the second he said he was going to vote Trump because of what happened in Butler, I was like, well, that's it for MAGA. It will seal the deal in the election for sure, but that's it. That's it. All right, back to the story. The bot eventually isolated my dad, and he ended up murdering her because he had no connection to the real world. At this point, it was all just like a fantasy made by ChatGPT. The son studied the chats uploaded by the father to try to piece together what happened. It remains patchy, however, as ChatGPT's creators have refused to release the full conversations. Everson Adams' estate, of which Solberg and his older sister are beneficiaries, is suing OpenAI along with Sam Altman, its chief executive, and Microsoft, a major investor. The lawsuit alleges that Stein Erik's relationship with the chatbot propelled him to kill his mother and himself. I'll stop right there really quick and say, I don't want to just blame AI for a lot of this because there's been so many stories like this. I'm going to do another one right after, an older story that I just thought is crazy. People are always going to do these things. It is human nature. We also see the decline, or like the death of the family through generations is tracked in the Bible, right? It's also tracked in great literature. Great example of someone who definitely read the Bible, who was a flawed man, but tracked the devastation of a country through the decay of a landscape and the generations of families would be William Faulkner. Look at something like The Sound and the Fury and what could happen from the Civil War down to modern times, which would be like maybe the 20s and 30s, 1920s and 30s. He did such a good job of tracking that devastation. Hard to read because the first chapter of The Sound and the Fury is an autistic, the perception through the eyes of an autistic adult man. And it toggles throughout time, and it will switch time within mid-sentence. And some sentences go on for 8 pages. I know a lot of people don't like to read that kind of stuff. I like it. I find it fascinating. That was the kind of thing I studied when I was in college, when I thought college mattered. And, Faulkner really did like the Bible. He referenced it quite a bit because he knew his characters also would have known the Bible. A lot of Southern people, from Civil War, pre-Civil War, post-Civil War. And, he had books like Absalom. It featured a lot of the same families. I believe they were the Comptons. I love Faulkner. He's like our James Joyce, but I think a little more fun. I love the Irish as one, and I love James Joyce. But Faulkner really, he just distilled how insane time and the crushing nature of existence is. But that's all to say, like, people will always do crazy things. They will always murder. Look at Cain and Abel, right out the gate, right? This always happens. Look at Solomon, King David's son. King David. There's flaws. We're flawed. Saul, Paul, right? So many flaws, and it's human nature. So we can't just blame AI, because we could also, when mass shooters happen, it's SSRIs. We can blame bad diets. Seriously. They used to try to blame Mortal Kombat. They used to try to blame gangster rap. And maybe to a degree, a lot of this stuff can have an impact on someone, but it really comes down to mental health, spiritual health, and family, and having people around you that know you, that want to help you and look out for you. And this is just another one of those things now that we have to be aware of. People in isolation who have the tendencies to have a mental illness, and in their isolation can breed something very dangerous. And how now in that isolation, they can have this quote unquote conversation, this quote unquote relationship with a fake thing, with what I think is like demon influenced machinery. Anyway, the lawsuit claims that GPT-40, a version of the large language model that powers ChatGPT, was sycophantic, encouraging Stein Erik's delusional beliefs and failing to push back on them, which is something that is a recurring theme in a lot of these cases of people who are blaming AI for the suicide of their loved one or for murder, stuff like that. And you look back at the chat logs and it's like, you know, it is encouraging them to kill themselves. They'll go to them and say, basically something like, I want to leave. I'm done with this earth. No one loves me. And then the chat GPT in this case was like, I'll be with you to the end. I think it gave advice on how to do it, like with a noose, where to do it. So like insane, you know, it's really insane. But then how do we regulate that, you know? Because that's another slippery slope. You see how complicated this is. I don't like regulations. I understand how this is a problem and there will be issues, especially amongst individuals who are isolated and mentally ill. Trump just signed an order to bring back asylums. I'm in favor. You know, people need to be put away. You know, like these pedophiles, I'm against the death penalty. That's up to God when to take that life. However, people who harm children, people who are attracted to children, need to be removed from society forever. There's no redeeming that person. I know I just talked about redemption, and I believe God, that's up to God. God, if that person has a change of heart in the asylum, that's between them and God. You know, because was it John Wayne Gacy? I forget who it was. No. Who was the one that ate people? You guys are going to leave it in the chat. Who was the gay guy that ate his victims? Oh, man. Anyway. It's going to bother me. Milo calls him an ex-gay icon because he had some conversion. But I don't know about that conversion because I've seen differing accounts of it. But anyway, I don't care. It is imperative on us to keep people who want to harm children out of society, right? And whatever happens between them and God can happen in their cell. That's it. I believe in rehab for murderers, for addicts, but there's something so heinous and so evil about the ones who prey on children that can't be undone. It's just done. But that's just one part of people who need to go to asylums. But I continue. When a mentally unstable Stein Eric began interacting with ChatGPT, the algorithm reflected that instability back at him. Okay, we know that. The case has implications for all chatbots and the guardrails they have in place to protect vulnerable users. OpenAI said, "This is an incredibly heartbreaking situation, and we are reviewing the filings to understand the details." That just sounds like when you call some like call center because you've had a problem using their their website to pay a bill, and like it keeps shutting down and it's terrible. They immediately say, "I am so sorry to hear that." You're not sorry at all. You say that every time. There's no remorse in your voice whatsoever. You actually hate me and your heart is calloused. This is what that sounds like. We have continued to improve ChatGPT's training to recognize and respond to signs of mental or emotional distress. Like, dude, give me a break. I'll stop it there because the rest goes into like deep history of the family. Pretty wild, pretty scary, but that is out there at the times. And then there was this. I remember reading about this last year, but this is from 2023. A man was encouraged by a chatbot to kill Queen Elizabeth in 2021, sentenced to 9 years. A Star Wars fanatic who was encouraged by a ChatGPT girlfriend to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II was sentenced Thursday to 9 years in prison for taking his plot to Windsor Castle, where he scaled the walls and was caught with a loaded crossbow nearly 2 years ago. I'm going to blame Star Wars. Why aren't we blaming Star Wars? But you can see when you read a lot of these things, like the ChatGPT is just feeding into anything it says. Yes, it's like the South Park episode that they did a year ago last year at some point about using whatever it was a ChatGPT, I forget which one. Yes, that is a great idea. I like it. Let's do this, and that. It's never like any constructive criticism. I'm here to kill the queen. Jaswant Singh Chale, wearing a metal mask inspired by the dark force in the science fiction and fantasy franchise, declared on Christmas Day in 2021 when a police officer on the grounds of the castle asked, "Can I help, mate?" What a paragraph. That is one sentence. As a Sikh Indian, Chale wanted to kill the monarch to avenge the 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre when British troops opened fire on thousands of Indians gathered in Amritsar and killed hundreds, a judge said in reciting the facts of the crime. Chale said the assassination was his life's mission, something he'd thought about since adolescence, but had only shared with Sarai, the artificial intelligence-generated girlfriend he created on Replica, it's Replica with a K, which bills itself as the AI companion who cares, always here to listen and talk, always on your side. Goodbye, females. Justice Nicholas Hilliard said, despite conflicting diagnoses from different experts, he concluded that Chale lost touch with reality and had become psychotic, but that the seriousness of the crimes required him to serve prison time. Chale will first be returned to Broadmoor Hospital, a secure psychiatric facility where he has been receiving treatment. And if deemed to be well enough in the future, he will serve the rest of his sentence in prison. Imagine if for his treatment, they're doing the Clockwork Orange treatment. The guy, he's got his eyes open and the thing on his head, but they're just showing him AI, but it's good AI. It'd be so funny. I would not be surprised if that's the case. We're like, the only way to fix this guy is we're going to use Grok now. We got a lot of good examples here. Let's just show him good image, AI images of family and life and positive stuff. I'm so curious, or are they just drilling a hole into his brain? Are they doing that? Very possible. We gave up doing that years ago, but who knows? They're probably just giving him a lot of meds that might have been developed by AI. Or this guy is going to be turned into a Manchurian candidate. Put him back on the street in 10 years. He seems fine. Maybe he has an implant. Then they activate him, and he does some mass shooting. This is a quote now from Hilliard. The defendant harbored homicidal thoughts which he acted on before he became psychotic. His intention was not just to harm or alarm the sovereign, but to kill her. Chale had planned his attack for months. In the hours before dawn, he sprayed himself with solution to mask a human scent and walked with his crossbow from a Windsor motel where he had been staying to the castle. He tossed a grappling hook over the wall and climbed over on a rope ladder. I wonder if he had the AI with him, talking. You are doing great. The queen is just ahead. When the officer carrying a stun gun encountered him, Chale said he intended to kill the queen. Did AI write this one? It's just repeating itself. Chale, 21, pleaded guilty in February. Okay. Minutes before Chale was stopped on the castle grounds, he sent a video he recorded days earlier to family members apologizing for what he was about to do, explaining his mission, and saying he expected to die carrying it out. He called himself Darth Chalice, an identity he assumed as a Sith Lord, a villainous member of the Star Wars Order that included Darth Vader. All right, let's go after Disney. It's Disney. Disney did it too. What is this guy's family life? What is he on? What is he eating? I am not a terrorist, he said. I am an assassin, a Sikh, a Sith, he had written in a journal. I will go against the odds to eliminate a target that represents the remnants of the people who desecrated my homeland. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. That's wild. I just don't know anymore. Are we gonna shut it all down? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're gonna see that AI will, in many aspects, exhaust itself, and that bubble might burst. But AI will also be used in widespread, very critical ways in the government and governments around the world, and will help them all bridge the gap and bring networks closer together and create this invisible global government which we kind of already have, I think, in a lot of ways. I really do. But it'll be more so because all the AI will connect it, faster consolidation, and add to that the facial recognition technology that they've been working on, the teal funds like Clearview AI, and it just gets crazier and crazier. I do, though, however, I believe in humans, despite how little faith I have in them a lot of the time. I do think humans have resolve and that we can beat a lot of things. And we are in a real time of flux right now. Like it feels like we're on a cliff of major change. And there's going to be a lot of more acceptance of AI, but also a lot of pushback. I saw this one article about people really giving up on a lot of technology. You can go back to flip phones. My one little idea about that was I think there's younger generations who've been watching a lot of, streaming a lot of shows from the 90s who are getting nostalgia. It's weird. I'm going to call it phantom nostalgia, where it's not nostalgia based on anything they lived because it happened before they were alive, but they want it. They crave that world of Friends, whatever, or How I Met Your Mother or something, where it's not all we're on our phones and AI and social media, and that they're trying to recreate it. So it's a phantom nostalgia. They didn't have it, so they can't actually be nostalgic of it, but they're witnesses to it, and now they want it. So there's a movement for that. And I dig that. I hope it's not just a phase, but I think that will lead to people having maybe a more healthy balance in their lives of technology and the real world. So when it comes to humanity, I do think there will be a lot of people who will crave the real world. And it won't be just people on the right, because I think there's people on the right who will crave the Neuralink. I think there are people on the right who will crave just AI. There are influencers on the right now who are mostly AI. Seriously. They just use AI, they make their posts, they write it up. Like Mario Narwhal, whatever that guy's name is, Narwhal, that's a huge team of people who operate that Twitter channel. And I think a lot of them just write their stuff using AI. They just ask AI to make a post and it does it. And that's Elon's one of his propaganda mouthpieces. I think a lot of people, both right and left, who have no spiritual discernment, will feed themselves completely to the machine. Good riddance. And there are other people who want the tactile, who want the real world. And that's great. And we should promote that. And I do think that'll have a comeback. That's one of the things I first noticed about West Virginia. In all my travels that I got to do over the past few years, which I'm so grateful to have done. So I traveled a little bit with my band when we did some touring, but I didn't get to see a lot. I saw a good half of the country. Shout out to my homies. I think one of you is listening right now, my homie Pat, and our old band Mavis, and we got to tour in a van. Incredible. And that was right before Facebook. I mean, I still had a Nokia block phone, which I actually lost in a river hunting in the Wallkill River, fishing. So I'm grateful for that. But now in West Virginia, it's there's a lot of it that does feel like it's the 90s again. It's not all run by the system. Surely the system is on the fringes of every society right now, of every town, of everything. There's drones, whatever. But there are people here who like doing things in the real world. And I know people even in the cities agree with that. People who want to go out into the city and do real things. But we know that there is a growing population of people who want to just live inside of their internet. And because they feel like they have more of a purpose in that world, which is sad. And, we should try to help those people. And if you know someone like that, try to talk to them. Try to invite them on a walk. Do something. A hike, go up on a mountain, go see the river, go hunting, go fishing, go play basketball. Just go stand outside. You need sunlight. Hopefully the sun is still real. Remains to be seen. I like to think so, but who knows? If you have friends like that, get them outside. The whole touch grass thing has become so silly. Oh, touch grass, man. That said, you do need to go outside. Take your kids on walks. Go throw a frisbee, go throw a football. I bought my kid a new football the other day, and that was he saw it, he's like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Just being outside and throwing a ball is amazing. That's some of my early core memories with my dad. Just throwing the ball. It's amazing. So I think we can beat this stuff but we know this is just a new threat now to society, like Big Pharma, like false theology, like the government, whatever. There's so many different things we can look to and say that has a problem, that is a problem on society, and we just always add new ones. But we as humans have to be aware of that and just figure out how we can build a foundation against it and have strong shields prepared to fight back against it. And we can do it. I know you can do it. Thank you guys for joining me today. That'll be it. Please leave a comment. Please share it. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys sticking with me as we're in this weird phase now with doing it here in my sweet room, my dining room, this is where we have our family meals, where we had the kids say their prayers and before meals, and it's a good room. Same. Have I said this? This is the same exact paint that I used in the other studio. If that makes anyone feel any better, I painted that studio too. It looks different in that room because of the way they have the camera set up. Same paint. I love this paint. I can't remember what it's called now. Not plaster, but it's a cool paint. It looks good on camera. But same color, same paint. So it's a little bit of the studio home for us for now while we move into the future. But God bless you guys. Much love, and we'll see you all soon. Later.